Hey everybody, welcome back to Sledgehammer Performance Garage. So today I ran into a little bit of a frustration. As you all know, if you've been following my channel, I went through a whole series of projects on my car, and the latest one involved replacing my taillights with Morimoto Generation 2 C8 style. It was only then that we realized that my third brake light was partially burned out. Unfortunately, what that means is that I have to again take my rear bumper cover off, and then I have to take off the rear spoiler to get access to change out the brake light. So if I had known that was burned out when I did this whole taillight project, it would have been a lot easier. Now I have to basically take everything apart to get back to where I was, replace that third brake light, and then put everything back together again. So it's going to take me a few hours to get through this. So let's go to the back of the car and take a look at what my third brake light currently looks like. Okay, here we are at the back of the car. Got the brake lights on, and as you can see, if we get up here a little bit closer, I've got a section burned out right here and burned out right here, and this side is fading away a little bit. Okay, we're ready to take the replacement light out of the box. This one I got off of eBay, and it was about 150 bucks. What a deal! I think new these are $300–400, so it was worth it to me just to try this one out. It came from a Z06. I believe it was a 2019 that had like 12,000 miles on it, so it's too bad that one got junked, but it's to my benefit since I get a hopefully working, it's guaranteed to work, but hopefully working third brake light. So this is what it looks like. And it does have some remnants of double-sided tape on it as well. So I don't know if that's from the factory or not. I have to assume that it is. So before I install this, I'm going to strip all of this off to make sure I've got a nice clean surface. And then I do have some spare 3M tape to throw on here just to keep things nice and secure. So next thing we're going to do is go to the back of the car, and we're going to take that bumper cover off once again. Without further ado, let's get started on that piece.
Do it in 2 and 2. Be right back.
Okay, before we go to the back of the car and start removing that bumper cover, I want to talk a little bit about the replacement light. Now, as I was stating earlier, this came from a 2019 Z06, and looking it over, I've noticed a couple of flaws that I'm not real happy with. I'm going to see if I can do something about them. First of all, it's a little bit hard to see, but right here, try and get a little bit of a close-up. There's a bubble in the plastic, and there's also a little bit of a scrape right here. So I think this is due to a film that covers the lens to protect from UV rays and fading. So I'm going to see if I can maybe try to flatten that out or polish it a little bit to see if I can knock it down a bit, because I'm going to notice it. Nobody else in the world would ever even see it, but I'm going to see it every time I go and polish the car. So let's see if I can do something about that. Hopefully this is going to work. I'm going to try to first use a little Dremel polishing tool, and we'll see what that does. Okay, we're back after our attempt at polishing out that bubble. And what how-to video would be complete without having some bloopers. And what you're going to see is that this was an abject failure. I tried to do the brute force method and use a Dremel tool with a little cloth polishing wheel, and here's the result.
I've never been this angry in my entire life!
As you can see, what it ended up doing was it burned that film that goes over the top of this plastic lens, and now I've got a big pile of goo there that I'm positive I won't be able to polish out.
Well, I'm an idiot.
So that little buffing mistake just cost me 150 bucks, because what I'm ended up doing now is going back on eBay and buying a brand new light, and that's probably going to end up costing me not 150 but 250. So sometimes going to a pick and pull is worth it. In this case, it wasn't for me, because being a perfectionist with my car, I couldn't live with having a bubble that only I knew about and only I would see. But this was my attempt. It failed, so I'm back to eBay. Okay guys, so in thinking through things, I had a little bit of an epiphany. It occurred to me that I had a headlight restoration kit laying around that I had used in my RAV4, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to destroy this thing any more than it already was, so I figured I'll give it a try. So I started with a 500 grit disc, ground it down, and that mess of melted plastic went away amazingly after about, I don't know, 5 or 8 passes. So then I decided to get up to an 800 grit, polished it some more with some water, and now I'm up to a 3000 grit. So what I'm going to do is give it a couple of more passes. And I'm doing this on the whole thing so I get it evenly worn, I guess. Because I know that after you do this headlight restoration, it takes off any factory UV protection. But, you know, it's not going to get any worse than it is. So I'm going to go ahead and run through here with another pass and see where we get. Okay, we'll take a look now. And if you remember, and geez, I can't even remember where that mark was. I think it was in this area, but it's completely gone. The glass is a little bit cloudy, but I'm going to go ahead and polish it up with the polishing disc and some plastics. Okay, we got the rubbing compound applied, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a polish with our polishing disc and see if that yields us any results. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Definitely, it's a lot better than it was with my Dremel tool brute force method screw up. Give that a quick buff. Man, that looks really nice. And next we're going to try a final step with Meguiar's plastics. Okay guys, so here's the final result. We're going to take a look at it. So I honestly can't even tell you where that blemish was that I caused. I think it was right in this area, but if you look at this, I mean, it just polished out incredibly well. So I'm very, very happy with this. So I think what we're going to end up doing now is I'm going to wipe it down a little bit better. And then to further protect it, I'm going to go ahead and use some of this stuff. This Adams graphene ceramic coating that I've used on all of my vehicles. I think this will protect it against any more UV damage that I might have introduced by polishing off that UV coating that came from the factory. But I'm not too worried about that because again, it saved me a couple $100 from having to buy another brand new unit. So again, success.
Let's go!
Okay, we're all done with the ceramic coating of the lens. We're going to take it out in the sun and see if what we did made any difference at all. And guys, it just looks perfect. You can't even tell there's an imperfection in that plastic at all. Okay, we are ready to start on the hard parts of this project. So unfortunately for me, my spoiler is taped on, so I'm going to have to use some fishing line and run it down the entire length of the spoiler to separate the two-sided tape so I can lift that spoiler off. It's going to be best to do that now because I've got the stability of the bumper cover still being on the car. So once I get that off, I'm going to have to go over it with Goo Gone, both on the bumper cover and on this, because I'm going to have to retape this at the conclusion of this project. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and this is going to be at the point of no return. Once I start cutting through that double-sided tape, I'm going to have to just go ahead and cut all the way through it because it's going to have to be retaped regardless. So, okay, we're ready to start removing this rear spoiler. And to do that, I'm going to use some fishing line. You do need to have gloves. This is going to be kind of tough on your hands as you're tugging on this stuff. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this around my hand here. If you don't lose track of it like I just did. Okay, firm grip. And you're going to need at least 25-pound test. Otherwise, you're going to break it as you try to saw through this stuff. So here we go. I don't really want to do this since this thing is pretty solidly mounted, but don't really have a choice at this point. So I'm just going to go right in on the side here. Make sure I've got it nice and secure in my hand, and we'll just start sawing through. And you can hear that stuff releasing as I come across. And I just broke my first piece of line, so we'll get another one out here. And I think you're a little better off by using a swift sawing motion because it heats up that tape a little bit better that way. And I think we are done. So let's see if we can get this loose. And one spoiler removed, and unfortunately a lot of gunk to clean up. So I'm going to do that before, because I've got a bunch here that needs to come off, and I'm going to clean everything up and have to retape this thing. So I'll set this aside for now, get my Goo Gone, clean this up, and then we'll go ahead and start the bumper cover removal.
1 hour later.
Okay, so it's been an hour, and this is as far as I've gotten. I've been using our trusty Goo Gone here to try and remove this 3M double-sided tape. And 3M tape is no joke. This stuff is impossible to get off. So I've got this side almost done. The middle section is all done, but I'm still letting this side soak a little bit. It's, again, probably going to take me another hour to get through this.
1 hour later.
Now over here, I've got my DAR spoiler just sitting here soaking in it. So you can see that double-sided tape goes all the way across, all the way to this side. So if the bumper cover takes me an hour, this will probably take me 2. But I'm considering just going to the auto parts store and getting one of those rubber wheels that you can use to take off bumper stickers and adhesive from emblems, because I'm not worried about burning the paint on the underside of this since it will never be seen. And I think just doing that will save me a lot of time. So this is where we're at after an hour. I have all the remnants of that double-sided tape removed. Took me about another hour with Goo Gone, a lot of elbow grease, and several rags, but this is where we're at. So I'm going to pull it out into the driveway. I'm going to wash off the back end, make sure I have all the Goo Gone wiped off my paint, and I'll proceed with removing that rear bumper cover. Now I'm not going to show that whole process because there are several videos out there already, so there's no need to reinvent the wheel, but I will link my favorite one in the description below. So with that said, let's go ahead and start removal of this bumper cover. Alright, we're back. The bumper cover is loose, just sitting on some cushions on the ground. So our next step is going to be to replace the brake light. But before we get too carried away, I've already disconnected the brake light from the wiring harness and I've plugged it into my new one. So let's just make sure this thing works before we get too happy about our progress so far. So I'm going to walk over to my driver's side door. And this may seem a little hokey, but I'm the only one here right now. So I'm going to take a long painter's pole, press it up against the brake light, and we'll see what happens here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that is such a relief. That whole thing lights up beautifully. So we are good to go. Looking at our replacement light, there are 4 7mm bolts that we'll need to remove on the old one to be able to install this one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we'll go back underneath the bumper cover, take those off, and then get ready to replace our light. Okay, so the 4 7mm bolts are all removed. So should just be able to pull this non-working unit right out. And there we go. You can see those holes that these bolts go into. So I think what we'll do is throw this one in the trash and put the new one in. Okay, Okay, we pulled it back outside just to clean it up a little bit more after putting everything back together. And you can see that it looks pretty bare without having that stage 2 spoiler on it, but hey, I'll take it if that brake light works. All I have to do right now is just to wait for a good time to strip the tape off of the old spoiler, and I'll retape it and then mount it. Okay, we got everything cleaned up, so I'm going to have my lovely assistant press the brake pedal to see if those lights come on the way we expect them to. Go ahead. Looking good.
Oh, yeah!
Time to go out with the old.
Good job.
To close the video, I wanted to mention a couple of things. The process to change a third brake light can vary in the range of difficulty. As long as you're comfortable removing that rear bumper cover and reinstalling it, it really isn't that bad. What made mine a little bit difficult was that I had a taped on rear spoiler that I had to remove first, and that was a bit of a palaver to do that. A lot of tape remnants, a lot of elbow grease. Just took me a long time to get that stuff cleaned up. But at least I had the reassurance that that thing was not going anywhere once it was taped in place. Now, throughout the second phase of the video, I didn't realize that the trim piece that was attached to that third brake light wasn't really needed. I'm not sure if that was just on there because that came from the Z06. I had never seen that arrangement before. It was just taped to the top of the brake light, so with a lot of effort I was able to separate the two. So that left me with just the brake light, which was exactly what I needed to complete this install. I will be making another video about how to reinstall that taped on rear spoiler. I had to order a Whizzy wheel to make it a lot easier, just based on the time it took me to get the rest of that tape remnant off the bumper cover. I didn't want to spend that amount of time, my thumbs were really tired after all of that. So when I do get to the Whizzy wheel, I'm going to go ahead and strip that tape off. I'm going to prep the surface with alcohol and then adhesion promoter, put some new 3M tape down, and then I'll make another video on how to install a taped on rear spoiler for those of you that are interested in that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was much longer than it really had to be, simply because of the trouble I went through with both getting that taped on spoiler off and then my failed attempt at buffing out that bubble that was in that replacement lens. But it all worked out in the end, and I'm glad that I got this project completed. So thanks for watching another video of Sledgehammer Garage, and please subscribe to my channel to see what's going on next.